I'm continuing my preview of the candidates tournament that begins on Saturday, the 10th of March in Berlin. 8 players battling it out to see who will win the right to challenge Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship title in November. Now, in the last video, I introduced Sergei Karyakin, Alexander Grishuk, and Dingley Ren. That's right. And this time I'm going to introduce 3 more of the 8 players, and that's Fabiano Caruana, Levon Aronian, and Wesley So. Right, well, here we go. In ranking order, first of all, Fabiano Caruana, rated number 8 on the live list. 25 years old. Of course, he has been much higher in the world rankings, up to number 2, but 2017 was not a great year for him by his very high standards, and it seems to me that, looking at interviews, looking at his play, he seems to have just lost a bit of self-belief, actually. He had one very bright moment in 2017 in December when he won the London Chess Classic, and I was present at the tournament, and it seemed almost a relief to him to win. But then at the beginning of the year he played in the Tata Steel tournament and bombed out completely, and he looked really crestfallen. He only scored 5 out of 13 in the Tata Steel tournament. I think at a certain point he'd just written it off because he was focusing on the candidates. But yeah, I think with him it's down to self-belief. We know how strong he is. You only need to think back to the St. Louis tournament where he scored 7 out of 7 at the start of the tournament and just cruised home. And also 2 years ago in the candidates tournament where he came so close to being the challenger and only fell right at the final hurdle in the final round. So we know he can do it. We know how strong he is. And, he would be an interesting opponent for Carlsen. Carlsen doesn't always have an easy time against him. Caruana is, I think, quite a classical attacking player, given the chance. And I think this game shows his style very well. He's also, a correct player, a classical attacking player. So this was played against German player Georg Meyer, played in the Grenka Chess Classic in last April 2017. So you can see that Caruana has castled on the queen side. He's built up his pieces very nicely, very harmoniously. Also a very correct pawn structure. You can see he does things properly. And Meyer has just played bishop d6, wants to trade pieces. Well, Fabiano was very happy to trade here because, of course, it damages black's kingside position. But watch how he builds very carefully before crashing through. So, there are lots of interesting moves here. You could try and break through with g4, but no, he's very correct, actually. So queen e3, obviously looking to come down here. So king g7. Now f4 introduces a couple of things. First of all, perhaps queen g3, but also you might at some moment be able to play f5. So rook g8, so that will defend against any incursion on the g file. And now it's not immediately obvious how white is going to break through here. Indeed, if black finds his feet, then it could be that black is doing very well on the g file. But this is great. First, bishop c2. And now bishop b3. So Caruana is just lining up on the e6 pawn. And now things start to look a bit deadly because those rooks are split and that white's pieces just look really harmoniously placed. And indeed, after f5, knight e6 is just completely crushing. Be careful though, bishop takes e6, bishop e4 check would be rather embarrassing, followed by queen takes bishop. So first of all, a check on d4, And then rook takes e6. But you can see that basically black's pieces are just split here, whereas white is, bang, coming through the centre. It's all about centralisation. This is just very instructive, actually. Of course, you know, the seventh rank needs to be guarded. Rook e7 check, among others, is the threat. Queen f6, so threatening these kind of moves, and queen h6 as well. And rook d8. I mean, there's no defence, but this is it's just beautiful the way white totally dominates the centre files. And now there's no proper defence to this. Just one more check, and that was blocked by the bishop. And, well, black can only stave off mate for a while. A classic attacking game. Very nice from Fabiano. I'm sure he will want to try and get that kind of game in. But if you remember in London Chess Classic, you know, he was producing games like that against, for example, against Anand. Was a beautiful victory with black, very classically played. Okay, let's move on to Levon Aronian. Well, Aronian had such a tremendous 2017. You know, he's a man for the big tournaments. Well, first of all, let's get the stats out of the way. He's 35 years old. He's number 5 on the live list, rated 2793. In 2017, he came first, of course, in the World Cup tournament, beating Ding Liren in the final round. He came first in Norway Chess with 6 out of 9. He came first in the Grenka Chess Classic. He just had an amazing year. And well, of course, just recently he won the Gibraltar Open tournament as well. So he's the form player. He really is. And I have to say, I really like his style. He seems so phlegmatic. It's though, you know, he sort of plays piece sacrifices, pawn sacrifices with a very free hand. You know, he's a real artist. I think his play is very much based on very sound classical principles, firm positional understanding. But he still gets often very strategically unbalanced positions. So he's a very exciting player to watch. And this game, played against Wesley So in the Sinkfield Cup last August 2017, I think is a very good example of his dynamic style. It's an unusual position. Aronian gets unusual positions. You can see this strange double E pawn here, this clump of pawns, but that's allowed Levon to attack on the F file and possibly swing to the G file as well. And he played, to my eyes, an unusual move. Instead of keeping the centre open, he played D5. If you play rook F5 here, then queen takes E3 check. But he played D5. So it looks unusual to kind of, you know, fix the centre like this, particularly with this bishop behind it. But in fact, it's a very clever move because it means that this knight simply can't get back into play in the centre. So Wesley played rook c7 on the open file. And now an excellent move, h4. I mean, it's really dynamically played from Levon. So this was taken. And then queen e5. So this allows white's queen to get into the attack. Queen e7 played, but of course he's not exchanging, not yet. And queen c5. Well, I mean, there are other possible defences, but I just want to give you the kind of flavour of Levon's style. And now, beautiful move, rook f6. So he just wants to turn right and take the h-pawn, so obviously using the pin. And if king f8, stepping out, then he'll just step to the side and utilises another pin here, and to take on g7. Very clever. h5 from Wesley. And now rook h6. So again, utilizing the pin. And now he just took the h-pawn. And, well, if queen takes bishop, then watch out for that one. Rook is on prise. g6. And now e5. And in this position, Wesley So actually resigned. Of course, the bishop wants to crash through and join in. And also e6 is coming. And if queen takes bishop, then queen h4 is incredibly strong, threatening this as well. And if pawn takes, well, now this is absolutely hopeless. I mean, there are many ways to win this position, but rook f3 is very nice, just wanting to switch here. And the king is quite safe, and if the queen comes back, well, let's just keep opening the position with e6, and black's position is completely falling apart. And yes, look at this knight, totally sidelined, and that's what Levon was playing on. So yeah, he's an artist. He's just a great attacking player. We've seen so many games over the past year where Levon has broken through. So I think it would be fantastic, personally, if he won the candidates. I would love to see a match between Aronian and Carlsen, but it's not going to be easy. Can he finally make it? You know, he's had chances before, but didn't quite do it 2 years ago. So we'll see. You know, he's phlegmatic. He's an artist. Sometimes he hits, sometimes he misses. Okay, moving on to the player ranked number 4 in the world currently, and that's Wesley So. Wesley is number 4 on the live list, 27.99 ELO rating. He's 24 years old, only 24. You know, he seems as though he's been on the scene for so long. So will this be his big moment? He's a very solid player, a very technical player, and in a way, you know, his style might be suited to the candidates tournament, where, you know, you play solidly and you just nick points where you can, but you don't go all out. You know, if you risk too much, that can be, you know, a bad strategy in this tournament. I think it's going to be incredibly close again. So Wesley's style, where he makes a lot of draws and just nicks the odd win, that could work well in this tournament. Let's see. Let me show you his very technical style, actually. This was played in the first round of the World Cup in 2017. I should say his 2017 it was an okay year for him. He played well in the Tata Steel tournament that's just happened in started 2018, got 8 out of 13, did well. In the World Cup, he got through to the semi-final, pretty good. St. Louis, Sinquefield Cup, he only got 3 out of 9. That was a bit of a disaster. Norway Chess, only 50%. Gashimov, 5 out of 9. He did win the US Championship with 7 out of 11. And he won Tata Steel 2017 with 9 out of 13. So it's been a kind of up and down year. The World Cup, this was his first round game against Ruiz Castillo. So, okay, his opponent isn't so strong, but I still think it's interesting to see that Wesley is still playing a very technical game and not, you know, playing something dynamic. So it's a Caro-Kann. I'm sure you can see the pawn structure is very familiar. And white has the centre and this pawn on h5, but black is better here because that pawn is a little bit vulnerable. Black has pressure through the middle of the board and wants to try and break with c5. This is the standard break in the Caro-Kann, and although white has greater control of the centre, in fact it's black who is pressing here as he has the break. So white steps out of the way, so now c5 can just be taken. Rook d6, very careful. preparing knight d7 and then c5. And then, you know, if that knight after c5 manages to bounce around to one of these squares, well, that could be fatal. So white played c5 himself, but now that gives away this square. So rook d5, and careful, there's a threat to take here. So white exchanged and played g4. And now Wesley still wants to use his rooks. So he's performed well on d5, but now he steps back and is making way for the knight. It's done its job attacking that pawn, but that's now defended. b4. White wants to prevent c5. But now the knight comes into d5 and comes into f4. So this is very dangerous. And watch out for this one. So the king, oh yeah, well, not yet. First of all, the rook defends there. And now Wesley makes the break straight away with e5. He could have held it for a bit, played on the queen side, but no, he went for it. I suspect his opponent was in time pressure already. And now a slightly unexpected move. Pawn takes pawn, not knight takes. Which just blocks out those rooks for a moment and actually leaves white in terrible trouble because, yeah, black has a really strong attack here. And after this, knight f2, well, he got in a big trick. Threatening the rook and threatening knight d1 check. And he won the exchange. Now, this still needed careful technique to win this game, but Wesley was up to it, of course. So there we go, Wesley So, third player I've introduced today, and yeah, you know, he could just do it. If you remember in 2016, the way that Karyarkin, I think he's a kind of similar to player to Wesley. You know, very solid, very technical, makes a lot of draws, but nicks games as well. Wesley is very much like that, so he definitely has a chance. In the next video, I'll introduce the final two players playing the Candidates Tournament, so watch out for that. And remember, tournament starts on Saturday, March the 10th. I'll be reporting on every round.